Two events in recent days hold out the possibility that Europe is again about to dive into crisis. First, on April 22, French presidential elections resulted in a runoff for incumbent President Nicolas Sarkozy and François Hollande, a French socialist. There have been no end to the number of pundits asserting that a Hollande election would be suicide for the French economy. There may be something to that. But if Hollande lives up to his rhetoric, there's much more at stake than merely the performance and sustainability of the Eurozone's second largest economy. Hollande has actively campaigned for changes to the fiscal pact that currently serves as the centerpiece of European recovery efforts. That pact is designed to limit state spending across the Union, and Hollande has been criticizing it as hostile to French economic growth. He has called for the renegotiation of the pact in order to make it more pro-growth. The second development is that the Dutch government collapsed on April 23rd in a dispute over the implementation of, you guessed it, austerity measures. The Dutch are often considered among Europe's most scrupulous people in terms of applying the spirit and the letter of the law, particularly EU law. If for any reason the Dutch do not impose the required austerity, then peripheral states will think that they too can get away with some budgetary backsliding. Considering the yo-yoing of European sovereign bond yields of late, that's no small issue. The Netherlands is one of only 4 remaining AAA-rated states in the Eurozone, and Moody's has already warned them that their rating is in danger. But the real concern comes from the interplay between these two events. The fiscal pact that Hollande wants to renegotiate did not occur in a vacuum. Instead, it was the end result of several months of intensive Franco-German negotiations, which included certain stimulus measures by the ECB, such as sovereign bond purchases and long-term refinancing operations. From the German point of view, they have already paid their side of the quid pro quo, and revisiting the issue would upend the entire crisis mitigation system that has been piecemeal developed over the past 7 months. Remember last October, when every day brought a new fundamental challenge to the existence of the common currency? That's where reopening this treaty could easily lead. Which brings us to the Dutch. Economically, the Dutch are in full agreement with the Germans that fiscal discipline is non-negotiable. However, politically, the Dutch are in full agreement with the French view that as Europe evolves, it must remain pan-national rather than a German-dominated entity. The Dutch also want to see Europe's smaller powers represented, as opposed to a system that would simply be imposed by a Franco-German axis. While it would be an overstatement to say that the European crisis would not be in its current state of abeyance without Dutch participation, the Dutch have served as a bridge between the Union's larger and smaller members. They've been a moderator, a balancer, and after a fashion, a sort of marriage counselor for the French and Germans. And now, judging by the Dutch political climate, they will be unable to play that role until at least September, which means that should Hollande become the next French president and truly push for a renegotiation of the fiscal pact, then the Franco-German alliance, which has so far managed the European financial crisis, will be replaced by a Franco-German argument, at the same time that the crisis control measures lose all political support. And this time with the Dutch being part of the problem, rather than a critical part of the solution.